So I was saying, unfortunately, the end of the shaft got pretty boogered up with the grinder and everything. So I think what I will do, since I still have over 2 inches here, I'll probably, when I get this all apart, put this shaft in the bandsaw and just cut it off. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I have got to clean this shaft up and then start loosening set screws, set bolts. Sorry, the shadow there, you probably can't see that. Square-headed set screw there. And let's start disassembling this whole thing. Prep it for witch's brew and wire wheeling and going in the bandsaw and cutting that ugly nub off. Yeah. What is this, around the 20th of April, something like that? Normally, this time of year, here in southeast Arizona, we are in the 90s. But for some reason, it's been this way all year. Winter was cold. We are in the low 80s, which is unseasonably cool for us. Normally, I'd have the old Porta Cool going full tilt in the shop right now. But no, it's not hot enough for that. Humidity today is like 19%. So the old joke, in Arizona, it's a dry heat. And there's 2 set bolts on this boss right here over the shaft. One's missing. I'm not sure what they're supposed to do. Because if you tighten it down, it's going to lock on that shaft and then this whole thing won't spin at all. So I'm not sure what that's about. Anyway, get this square-headed bolt inside this pulley off, and believe it or not, I don't know if you can see it or not, the 12 millimeter fits it perfectly. I thought that was interesting. Now it's a pretty tight fit between the spokes of this belt pulley. I can't get into the mind of a mechanic or a machinist 120 years ago, especially when they didn't have modern crescent wrenches and stuff like that. And the big old clunky Coes spanners they had, although they did have small ones. But I'm curious what they used in the way of a spanner to get inside here and tighten up this square-headed set bolt. Yeah, I should probably do some research on that. Really not important in the grand scheme of things. It's coming, slow but sure. All right. Yeah. So you can see that set bolt between the spokes of the pulley. Now this is a very small Pexto adjustable spanner, patterned after the Coes adjustable spanners. This barely fits in there between the spokes. So that would work, but it would be really clunky. We got the same deal on this step pulley here. There's a threaded hole drilled right in the face of this second pulley, right directly above the set screw that holds it in. So, yeah, mystery continues. Obviously, they came up with a mechanical means to install and loosen these set screws. I find this kind of stuff fascinating, vintage machinery archaeology. I mean, I'm a tin bender, and this kind of stuff fascinates me. You know, I keep telling you guys I'm a tin bender, yet I don't do any sheet metal work on this channel to speak of. Well, half of my career I did sheet metal. The other half of my career I was a production controller, ships production controller, specialty in scheduling. I know that wouldn't be video worthy, but tin bending would. I should do something sheet metal for you guys, just to prove I used to do it. Before I get too carried away here and damage something, I forgot. There's a collar on here that's got set screws in it, so I don't want to go beating on that shaft anymore and leave a big old groove in it. I got to clean all of these gack out of this set screw here. There may be more than one. Let's have a look. Oh, that squeak sounds great. Nah, it looks like there's only one. Let me get this set screw out of here, and then we'll try getting that shaft out of there. Normally you would expect to see a socket head cap screw, set screw in there. Well, that is slotted. I better soak some liquid wrench in there, because sure as shooting I'm going to gall up that slotted screwdriver head. I think somebody has had this apart before in the past, because in the face of this pulley there's another hole that's drilled. It's not threaded, but in fact it's right there, and I think that is actually supposed to align over the set screw in this collar, because now I got my screwdriver in there at an angle. Hope I don't strip this out. Oh, look at that. It's like everything else on this drill press. Comes right apart. Well, I can't exactly say that. Most everything in the way of fasteners came right apart. Some of the assemblies were pretty stubborn. So, yeah, that was a little slotted set screw. Not that that's really interesting, but you get the idea. When I put this back together, it's going to have a socket head set screw in there. I'll double check, make sure there's no other set screws hiding here. Also, when I put it back together, I'll make sure that collar is oriented so it lines up with that hole. Well, I better think about that. If there's an indentation machined in the shaft that doesn't align, well, then that idea is not going to work. I've got a bad habit of thinking way ahead of myself. Just let things reveal themselves as they would. Got some movement that way. That's loose. Now I better get to soaking some more liquid wrench in there. Let's get some lube on that shaft, because the end of this was pretty crapped up with old hardened paraffin-based oil. Whew, that was brutal. I finally had to resort to the press and heat. So I had this whole assembly upright like that in the press, pushing down on that shaft through these bosses. Everything was tight, and my concern was I would be putting a lot of stress on these cast iron joints, and I was afraid it was going to snap. So I got the heat out and I started heating these bosses here and got them really good and hot, and then started pressing, and that shaft slowly came out, and here's the result. But man, that fought me. So here's the next round of parts to be cleaned up, painted, and reassembled. I've also got the top bearing caps here for the shaft on the very top of the drill press. Clean those up and get them squared away. This one I've already started on. It's cleaning up pretty good. I've got to get some felt out of the wife's hoard. Cut some felt to fit in these spots right here. So that'll keep dirt out of the bearing shell and off the shaft, but allow oil to drip on through that hole. We get lube on the shaft. As you can see, that's all the old hardened paraffin-based oil full of dirt. About have to chisel that off. If you've been with the channel for a while, you know exactly what's going on here. For those of you that are new, you've probably heard me refer to the witch's brew a few times. Well, this is it. Yeah, and for those of you that are new, if you want to know what's going on here, you can go back on the playlist on this drill press series, and you can see where I start fooling around with electrolysis. I've applied the 1-2 punch here. Took some super clean and a wire brush and some water, and I got that bearing shell all cleaned up. As you remember a couple clips ago, it was loaded up with hardened paraffin-based oil and dirt. That all scrubbed off with the super clean. Now I've applied a coat of clean stripper. I'm not sponsored by either of these two. It's just what I use to get that old paint dissolved, and it's, as you can see, it's already starting to work its magic. So I'm going to let that sit for a couple hours, and we'll take a wire brush, clean all that paint, old paint off of there, and then we'll get some fresh paint. I think it's time for a new blade. Well, while the lower belt pulley is being cleaned and witches brewed and reassembled and all that stuff, I figured, well, I might as well reinstall the upper shaft and pulley, and get that going anyway. Get a little oil on here just to pre-lube this before I put the shaft in. I still got to find some felt in Nancy's hoard of fabric. So I'll have that to put in the little oiler area on the bearing shells that fit on the top here. All right, let me grab that shaft. I forgot how heavy this thing is. Man, oh man. Let's see, what am I doing wrong here? There we go. Looks like I gotta loosen this collar just a little bit to make that all slide in together. All right. Let's see now. That looks good. Right about there. I'm gonna leave just a little bit of a gap there, just a couple 3/1000ths maybe. Just allow a little clearance. So I don't build up friction of anything rubbing on the bottom bearing shell here. All right, that's good. I've been having a lot of doofus moments in the shop lately. I don't know where my mind goes sometimes. You know, forget everything I said earlier in this video about square-headed bolts and not understanding what kind of wrenches they used back in the day. I mean, I know this stuff. I just forgot it. Just a quick search through my Encyclopedia of Antique Tools and Machinery. I mean, back in the 1880s, they were making open-end wrenches for squared bolts. I mean, it only makes sense. If they're going to make square bolts, they got to have a wrench that fits it. I frustrate myself sometimes. I totally forgot about alligator wrenches, which were made specifically for square-headed bolts. 100 years ago, Crescent made a double-ended crescent wrench, so they've been around longer than I realized. For some reason, my mind was just flat stuck on the Coase adjustable spanner types. Early 1900s, the S wrenches. I mean, yeah. Look at all of this. Look at this tool kit. Look at all of these spanners that would fit square-headed bolts. So, and sockets with the right number of points. They had them back then. My brain just went sideways. Okay, I got some felt from the boss, and I am going to trace around these oilers here and get some felt fitted inside here so I can use the felt as the absorption media for oiling these bearings on the top shaft of the drill press. The felt is cut and installed, so let's get these bearing shells up on top of the drill press. These are the existing bolts. I'm going to use them temporarily because threads are rounded over and stretched and everything else. I'm going to replace all the fasteners on this thing with grade 8s. And I think they will accent the striping color and look good, and of course be a little more sound holding things together. Oil these felts really good. I like it. Well, once again, this got away from me. I let it go way too long. Oh well. Apologies. I also apologize for that long drawn out rambling, babbling about square-headed nuts and bolts and how did they do it back in the day. And I knew how they did it back in the day. It just completely escaped my brain. So, but my curiosity got the better of me. I started looking things up online. I realized, I got books on this stuff, and I opened them all up, and spanners galore, all kinds of stuff, sockets. I mean, when they were building wagons 200 years ago, they were using square-headed bolts, and they had wrenches for them back then. So, yeah, when they were building this stuff, they had everything they needed for square-headed nuts and bolts. Another doofus moment in the shop. Oh, well. Sorry about that. Apologies. Welcome, new subscribers. Got some more here in the last few days. Glad you're with us. And hope you enjoy the content. Feel free to banter with everybody in the comments. And to all my existing subscribers, thanks for sticking around. Been enjoying a lot of the comments and suggestions lately. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon on the next one. Bye for now.